Happy Friday. So something I want you to do to pay attention for today's episode is really the first word that I started off the video with. Do you remember? Happy. Happy, happiness, ultimately really the true theme of today's episode with Ashish, man. Him and the Happiness Squad. It's not very often that you get to meet people that are on a mission to touch 1 billion people. But to take it a step further, it's not very often that you get to meet the same person or the same team, and they're on a mission to make sure that those people are integrating happiness into their everyday lives and operations. What is happiness to you? What does that mean? You know, the Happiness Squad started really not with the focus on happiness itself, but really the elimination of those things that don't make us happy. What makes you stressed? What makes you anxious? Think about your day to day. Today is Friday. Did you wake up in a great mood today? Are you feeling good? Well, look, by the end of this episode, I can almost guarantee that you will be smiling and that you will have a different perspective on how you move forward with your happiness. So without further ado, enjoy episode 197. Don't worry, be happy. Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the Down to Business podcast here with Tamar Turner. Look, it's warm outside. Well, I don't know where y'all are from, but Tampa, where I'm based out of, it's summer all year round, it feels like, but it's just specifically and especially warmer during these June, July, these August months for sure. So I'm a sun person, I'm a water person, I'm a heat person. I love being outside, I love the vitamin D, everything like that. So naturally, I'm always just smiling. I'm always, sometimes I feel like if my mood is down or if I'm feeling just a little bit like sad or just out of it a little bit, I ask myself, have I been outside today? Have I taken a walk? Have I gotten the sun? Sometimes even just opening those blinds and just letting that light shine across the room, it just feels good. So why do I say all of that? Well, I feel like, in some capacity, happiness will be the theme of today's conversation. I'm very excited to be sitting down with Ashish, very excited for the quick turnaround time for him sitting down, for his enthusiasm already as we kind of just politicked a little bit before the episode started. So I know that he has a host of value to bring to you guys today, and I'm excited to even take a deeper dive into what he does and how he's branded himself. But before we get into all that, I obviously have to ask the most important question of them all. Ashish, how are you? How's everything on your end?
Tomorrow things are amazing. Things are fantastic. Every morning when I wake up, the fact that I woke up fills my heart with joy, right? Yeah. Another day to make a difference, because that's not something that so many other people get to enjoy that day, right? So, I'm blessed. I'm amazing. I'm joining you here right now from Ann Arbor, actually. I'm here visiting the University of Michigan Ross. I live in Boulder, Colorado, but I'm visiting here. There's some amazing work they're doing at the center. So I'm just joining you from there. So it's been an amazing, beautiful day.
Well, I love that. I love that even in the midst of your travels, you still joined us today. You still sat down with the Down to Business podcast. So I'm excited not only for myself now, but for my audience indeed. So as someone who's never been to Michigan, I definitely do have to get your review once you wrap up the trip and everything goes well. So good luck on the rest of your travels and hope everything goes well. So now we're going to have a host of people tapping in today. We're going to have people from my side. We're going to have people from your side. We're going to have people coming along for the first time, finding out maybe about the both of us. And I love those people just because, we love exploration. We love new. And then we love kind of allowing people to follow along the journey. But in order to bring everybody up to speed, in order to put everybody on the same page in some respect, can you just do two things for me? Can you, one, just tell me a little bit about yourself? And then can you, two, tell me what brings you on the Down to Business podcast today?
Yeah, sure. So, hi, everybody. I am Ashish Kothari. I live in Boulder. I am married to my wife. We've been married for 15 years, and I'm lucky to have a woman in my life who I love every day more than the day before. So, 15 years and up, and it's been magical. We have a 14-year-old son and a 9-month-old pug puppy. Her name is Hufflepuff. And they are my source of renewal. I think they keep me alive. So that's a little bit. I professionally I spent 25 years in consulting. I was a partner at McKinsey, one of the leading consulting firms, and I left about a year and a half to launch my own company, Happiness Squad, with a mission to democratize happiness. To really help 1 billion people integrate the science of flourishing and happiness into their lives, not just know about it, but truly live it. Right? That's the real challenge, and that's the work I wanted to do. So that's what I do right now, and that's why I'm here. Because if you are running a business, you are living life. Um, at the heart of it, happiness is human performance. So if you want to be at your best, you want to achieve great things for yourself and for the others, there is no better way than to choose happiness. And that's what I'm trying to help individuals and companies do.
Whew, I love that. I told y'all what today's theme was going to be, so I hope that y'all were just listening to my beginning. But no, I really do love to hear some of the beginning stages and foundations of this journey. One, happy Father's Day to you. I hope that
Thank you.
you enjoyed the weekend just the same. But to just have that, um, just to be surrounded by such people, by even Hufflepuff, just the same. But even as you said, just working through your journey, just experiencing different things, having different conversations, trials and tribulations, ups and downs, to now be on this side of things and to now really want to promote that and propel that onto others, man. I think that's beautiful. 1 billion people, that doesn't, that's quite the impact right there. But I love this. I love the name, obviously. And for those, like, there are going to be some people coming along new and finding this out. They're going to be OG down to business podcasters who know that I love names. I love the intention behind names. I love the creativity behind them. I love sometimes just the meaning, how they're written out, how they're abbreviated. I love everything. So the happiness squad, you almost can't even say the word happiness without the mouth smiling a little bit. So why why did happiness become such a focal point for you? Was there some type of like experience? Was there a commonality where you having a lot of conversations with people and just noticing that, people are working hard, people are business owners, entrepreneurs, successful, but happiness isn't universal throughout? Where did that really come into play for you?
Yeah, it's a beautiful question, Tamar. And, first of all, I'll tell you happiness, I'll give you a little bit happiness and squad, right? Happiness is human performance. So the science of happiness is the science of human performance. We are at our best when we are happy, not when we are stressed, anxious, shamed, guilty, angry, resentful, all of that, right? And squad, because if you go back to the billion people, there's 10, 12 people in the world who reach a billion people. Maybe the Pope, President Xi of China, maybe Narendra Modi of India, some other people, maybe Taylor Swift, I don't know. But there's not a lot of people who reach a billion people. But who reach 8 billion people are other people. And Squad is an invitation for people who kind of share this vision to come join and take some of the core work we are taking into the world. Okay. So that's the reason for Squad. And it's an invitation for anybody who wants to join the mission to be a part of it. Now, here's the deal. I wasn't necessarily researching happiness when I decided to start the company. I also wrote a book called Hardwired for Happiness, which also, by the way, wasn't the title of the book that I researched and wrote. So how I came to this, Tamar, was what I was really researching, what I was really studying, and it came from my own personal journey, was what keeps us in fear, what makes us anxious, even though we have so much. Look, friends, if you look today, we are more prosperous, we are living longer, we are more connected, and we are more efficient in everything that we do than any other generation that has lived, right? And yet we are more stressed, we are more disconnected and lonely, we are busier than ever. And all these years, our life expectancy has doubled in the last 50 years. But all these extra years that we have taken, they're filled with suffering because of chronic ailments that we manufacture through our own lifestyles and with a high degree of stress that we run around it. And I was one of you, right? I was also, I came to the U.S. when I was 23. I had $5,000 in my pocket. I came from India. It was my first trip out of the country. And I'm the American dream story. I found myself at 42, 43 with enough money. I was doing very well. I was very successful. I was happily married. My health was good. And yet I was dealing with a personal bout of anxiety and I didn't know why. And it was that put me on a journey to research what makes us anxious and fearful. That became the foundation of the book. It was originally called From Fear to Freedom, a journey from within to live your best life. Because when you remove fear, what remains? Happiness. Look at a 3-year old or a 5-year old. Nobody teaches them to be happy. They're just happy. They're joyful, right? Something needs to happen to us when we are children to not be present with what we are doing, to cry. We have to be hungry, thirsty, fall down. What happens when we grow up? We chase one thing to the next to find joy. Our base state is not joyful. Our base state is stressed, busy, anxious, angry, all of those. And when you remove that state, when you learn a way to move out of that, you go back to that base state of bliss. So, long answer, but that is the origin story of Happiness Squad. That it wasn't really about happiness at all. It was actually about eliminating all the other things that make us unhappy. And by the way, happiness, what I'm talking about here, is not an emotion. I don't think anybody can be happy always. What I'm talking about is a state. It's a state of joyfulness from which we can meet, obviously, the high points in our life, but also meet the trials and the tribulations and the hardships and the suffering. Because that's what gives us more agency. That's what gives us more space, more choice to choose a more thoughtful response, to make suffering into an opportunity for learning.
Wow, can y'all tell he's been doing this for quite some time now? Can you tell he knows what he's talking about a little bit? But no, I love the. I'm glad that I asked that question because that goes to show again the how things are curated, how things come together, how, like you said, happiness wasn't the focal point. It wasn't just what you were trying to hone in on. It was really everything that was affecting it. It was really everything that was playing a part in it, that was being a detriment to it, that once you kind of pushed it to the wayside, you said, well, what remains? And it was just that word. So I love that. And I love that how sometimes we, in order to get to like that end goal or get to like that foundation or get to like that monumental point, you have to go through all of these different obstacles and pivots and misdirections and redirections and delay and denial and everything like that to really get there. But ultimately, if what you really want to do is at the forefront, if that mission, if that why stays consistent, stays true to you, then you'll get there at some point. And I can definitely hear that with you. And I can definitely say that while everything is it's a process, nothing easy nothing works, nothing worth having comes overnight. And I feel like oftentimes we miss certain things or even block blessings or are just null and void to things because we just want that instant gratification. And as a human being, who doesn't? Who just doesn't want to feel good all the time? But like you said, the reality of it is nobody's happy just 100% of the time because it's not that true, fluid, just solid emotion. It's a state. It's almost like a characteristic in a sense. And I love that. So now with getting to the point that you are now, with going through everything, because what I'm also hearing with this journey is that there was a lot of research that had to be done. There were a lot of just different things that you had to learn, had to unlearn, had to teach yourself, had to be reminded about, had to reinforce, had to memorize, had to know. But with that, at what point did you really say, hey, I want to brand myself around this? Because like you said, even the book wasn't hardwired toward that in a sense, no pun intended. But now that we kind of, like I said, you go to the website, you look at the brand and you look at even how you're promoted and what's out there, the Happiness Squad at all times. And when you take happiness and what is encompassed under that, and then you take squad and what's encompassed under that, and you put it all together, that becomes the brand. So when did you really realize that this is something that you really wanted to take and elevate to new heights and really build a business around it?
Yeah. So look, as I was leaving McKinsey after 25 years, right, at 18 years at McKinsey, 25 years in consulting, as I was looking, it was, as I mentioned, I wanted to really do this work and scale this work to help people live their life and experience their life, which was based on how grateful and how lucky we are to be experiencing all this, right? And to really shift away, rewire away from fear and scarcity, and stop solving for myself and start thinking about the other. As I started thinking about that, Happiness Squad is where I landed because, Tamar, if I asked you, right, anything you do, anything any of your listeners or viewers do, if you ask yourself enough whys, why do I do it, right? So if I asked you, you get here, you have amazing people. Why are you running the podcast?
So I run the podcast just because I love to bring awareness to voices that may not have been heard otherwise, and I love connecting people. I love
Beautiful.
connecting with people, but I love other people connecting.
And why do you like bringing people together who might not have been heard or connecting?
Because I feel like those underlying stories and those as you call it, kind of like those underdog mentalities are often very there. And I feel like, everybody has a unique life, a unique perspective, and that deserves to be shared for sure.
Yeah. And what happens when you do that? What do you experience when you do that?
Oh, I'm ecstatic. I love just hearing the journey of others. I'm happy for sure. So yeah, I see
Right?
what
So
you're
when
doing.
you go keep asking whys, at the base of everything we do
Mhm.
is happiness. There is nothing we do because it makes us unhappy. We might take short term sufferings because long term we think it's going to bring us happiness.
Right.
So it's at the base. And that's why I wanted to meet people where they are and say, look, we are Happiness Squad. We want to help you be happier, be more resilient, be more adaptable. And I really wanted to stand behind that. And I fully knew when I was even coming up with this, right? Initially, people were like, happiness, that seems like such a throwaway. You're a serious, I'm an engineer, I'm an MBA, finance major. They're like, what's this happiness thing? And I'm like, well, let's step back and let's talk about what we're talking about here. And also, as you said, happiness brings a joy, even the name, even those who actually don't, after they go like, oh, happiness, hi, hello, right? And I'd rather do that than, because the other option was we can call it the Human Performance Squad. We help you perform. And like, no, I don't need you to perform, right?
Okay, no, I like that, and I love how you even led into that because I really never thought of it like that. But I do recognize that in the host of people who I've talked to, the why is what's going to keep you going throughout it all.
That's it.
And that'll really make or break your success, your journey, what you're really in this for, and what you really want to do this for. Everybody loves money. Loves being able to do things on your own time, loves being able to, just wake up and go. But what's ultimately bringing you that joy? What are you waking up every day and just so motivated to do? Why are you so motivated to do that? You know what I mean? And so,
Absolutely. And Tamar, and this is the beauty of this work, right? Which is, and the science is really clear
mhm,
that unlike most people, what they think, which is successful people are happy,
mhm,
rich people are happy, healthy people are happy. It's the reverse. Happier people are more successful, are make more money, have
mhm,
more friends, live longer, are more creative, are more resilient, are more adaptable. So the science is really clear. And that's the shift, right? Rather than chase money in pursuit of happiness, which you will never be happy, you can choose to take your journey through habits that help you be happy. This is the other thing about this, Samar. You can't directly pursue happiness. If those people who say, I want to be happy, are unhappier. But what we can do is cultivate and live into a set of practices as a result of which happiness ensues, right? So it becomes again a state that we inhabit. It becomes a fundamental rewiring of our brain
mhm.
away from the way the brain has evolved.
Gotcha.
Our brains have evolved to keep us safe, not happy.
Mm.
We rewire our brain away through practices so that now the fear gets overridden.
Man, I like that. I really do like that because it's like really, I almost feel like while some people were saying like it could be a throwaway, it's only like that because I think we don't take a deeper dive into really the word, into really the foundation of it all. We just say, okay, I'm not happy. Well, there's a lot that is encompassed under what being happy means. There are a lot of things that can affect that, and just for changing one particular thing or doing something a little bit differently, it may not necessarily just give you that going from upset or mad or just not feeling it to just that ray of sunshine. Now, it can be a thing where it can be a process. It can be a multi-step process. It can be something that, as we even spoke about, it's not just an overnight thing. It's not just mad at the world, one minute, and then the next minute you're just happy go lucky. At least not a genuine and authentic happiness for it. So something that I think about too with what you do and just with business ownership and the entrepreneurial journey in general is the marketing of it, the getting the word out there, just the letting the other people know, the discovery phase in a sense. Because like you said, you've worked the consulting, so you know firsthand what it's like to build businesses from the ground up, to help people scale, to really break things down, to if it ain't broke, don't fix it. But if it is broke, let's fix it. Let's bring some solutions there too. So with the Happiness Squad in particular, what does really the marketing strategy look like for you guys? How are people finding out about the Happiness Squad? How are people interacting with you all? What are people enjoying most about the services and the products that you offer?
Yeah, so it's a beautiful question, and I'm actually going to give you a two-part answer to that. Okay. I'm going to give you a very woo-woo answer, and trust me, people who do this work I think they'll be well. And then I'll give you a very science-based answer, right? So the woo-woo answer I'm going to give you comes from The Alchemist. I don't know if you've read The Alchemist by Paul Coelho, but he says, when you are pursuing your inner legend, when you're pursuing what you are born to do, the universe conspires in mysterious ways to create the path for you and bring you those who can help you and support you and propel you in your journey. Okay? So the biggest thing that we have to do as entrepreneurs, business owners, is to stay true to our why and really operate from that place in terms of the energy that we're putting out there. Okay? If you do that, magical things happen, and I do that. I show up that way in every interaction, right? For me, this is my why, right? Now I'll give you the practical side of it. So, okay, that's great. So like you can sit here and I can be that way. And is that going to be like business? No, but we have to execute. But here's what I say. We can take actions, but you have to be open to whatever emerges and keep learning. So our predominant ways of through which we are actually scaling up the work is three distinct ways. The first one is something that I've done over the last 25 years because this is who I am, right? There's wisdom says, dig the well long before you need the water. Dig the well long before you need the water. I am at the heart a relationship person. I'm in touch with almost everyone, almost, not all, almost everyone I've worked with in the last 25 years, right? And all of those people, we connect with. We don't talk every day, every week, every month, every quarter, but definitely once a year. I think there are many people who I'm in touch with. And so as they think about you, and you're doing work which is making a difference, they can be your biggest fans, right? The second is we have our own podcast, and we're really using that podcast as a content, as a way to get the word around what we are doing and what I'm about and why this is so needed in the world that we are living in right now. That's the second way in which we are actually getting the word out, and we are getting a lot of inbounds from that. And then the third is, when life gives you opportunities, you go do the best you can with them. And if you deliver high impact, those clients and those individuals who you inspire become your evangelist. They spread the word, right? But none of the other things are possible unless you do the inner work, which is work in which you show up. And I find that so often, Tamar, there's a lot of entrepreneurs who start businesses with a clear why. And then what they start showing up to do every day is not about that why, but it's about, hey, I'm going to get fired if I don't drive sales, or, this business, this side is not working. They just start chasing dollars. They start chasing, number of likes or whatever, customer acquisition or whatever. They forget the why they started it, it was all about, really fixing a problem that they felt called to. And so I think we got to go back and always stay true to that.
That's how the answers are leaving me. And now that I hear about the podcast, you've this is not your first rodeo. You might have done this a couple of times, but no, the time and time again, a lot of even me thinking about my journey, which is almost 5 years in November, I reflect back to that why. I reflect back to a lot of times how even with the Happiness Squad, the focus and the core and everything at its root wasn't, I would have never imagined I would be doing a business and entrepreneurship podcast. I was always the sports guy. The professor who I even got all the advice from, he had his own podcast on ESPN. So for me to kind of just completely pivot and come up with different names and really move in that sector, it was really just because I was recognizing everything that was around me. And I felt like my why was bigger than maybe my interest at the time or what I really liked or was passionate about. And it became a thing also too, where I was just like, how many people just want to hear me keep talking? You know what I'm saying? Like, I could talk, we could do this for hours, but at the end of the day, I want the exposure to be for the Happiness Squad, for other business owners, for other entrepreneurs, for other products and services and brands out there that are doing amazing work that otherwise we may not have ever heard of or come across in any capacity. So I love to take a deeper dive into how businesses and how brands are out there, because I feel like, whereas they've all come into play in different ways. As you said, those people that come along that support the brand, that become those evangelists, that resonate with it in some kind of way,
Mm-hmm.
are unique just the same, because people, when you ask different people for testimonials about the Happiness Squad, while they all may be positive, they all may be for something completely different. Oh, because I came across this brand at a time in my life where I just really needed them. They allowed me to completely transform my business, hone in on my why, and know my why. Ashish was just amazing from start to finish, personable. Who wouldn't want to work with him? You know what I mean? So I love to also hear those brand stories too, because they're unique to not only the CEO, the founders, but the people around it, and just the message
Absolutely.
that moves forward with it. Now, the Happiness Squad. I know you said you're in Michigan right now. You're based out of Colorado, which I actually need to get back to. Colorado was beautiful when we went. It was just a little cold. But being that you move around, there's a lot kind of with this. Is that kind of how the team and is that kind of how the business and the brand is set up? Are you guys kind of in different places, in different spaces, working across many different industries? Because I have, 180, 190 plus episodes. Maybe when we even get to this one, we may be past 200. I'll cross my fingers. But at this point, we've talked to different industries, different niches, different people, every
Mm-hmm.
single thing, but I always think about how this can be useful for everyone. So for your setup and for everything that the Happiness Squad is doing and going on, how can people, can anyone really just take advantage of this business, of this service? Can anyone typically, just reach out to you guys and kind of
Yes.
explore what you offer?
Yeah, great question. So, look, I mean, we're really doing work along two areas, Tamar. One is I don't travel around that much. I'm mostly in Boulder, but we serve clients around the globe, not just actually in the US, um, because we can do it virtually. We have an offering for businesses, okay? Because we know from research, Tamar, that businesses that have flourishing cultures are they have 2x higher stock market returns. They are 20% more profitable. They're 12 to 30% more productive. They have 65% lower attrition, and they have 3x the creativity. So I think there is a real powerful way that this work can help businesses fundamentally outcompete giants, especially if they're small businesses. I say, in today's world, there's only two realities for small businesses, unfortunately. Either you get stomped on and you die because you get outcompeted on resources, financial, talent, reputation, reach, all of that, right? Or you turn the people you have into this unbelievably fast moving, deeply connected to why, high level of belonging team. You can become the David that takes the Goliath down. So we serve businesses to give them that competitive edge that is so needed, right? And give them, like, you got to play on your ground. But then we also built an offering which is digital, which is available to individuals, because we fully recognize that all businesses might not be able to offer this to their employees. And so for individuals, we built two offerings, Tamar, that people can access directly from our website. And look, for me, this part of my life's journey, I turned 50 in March, is not about safety and security. I think I already did that in my first half. For me, truly, I mentioned this was about democratizing happiness. So we literally priced the offering at $1 a day. And my invitation to people is the following, that if you are willing to spend 5 minutes a day and $1, you can learn a set of practices that fundamentally transform your experience of life, make you happier, and make you more resilient and adaptable to thrive in the world we are living in, right? To be a better father, a better son, a better brother, a better sister, a better, somebody neighbor, and a better leader. That's what we've created. So we serve individuals directly, and we also serve organizations. Um, that's what we're doing.
$1 in 5 minutes doesn't sound like a tall ask to me at all. So I definitely do hope that that raises some eyebrows, that sparks some interest just the same. But no, I love to hear now with, I just love I would say where we're at with business ownership and entrepreneurs, because I feel like growing up, I feel like really before the pandemic, which is where I really got a lot of my taste of just business owner, just branding yourself, just
Yes.
things like that. A lot of things were just really brick and mortar, mom and pop, or you kind of knew the big brands or who was in charge or who the players were. But now, you talk to just so many different people, and you talk to so many different
Mm-hmm.
industries, and you realize that these people are working everywhere, like you said, whether it be domestically, internationally, locally, regionally. And I love to see that, because it just goes to show you too just how far the impact can go, especially when
Uh-huh.
you do great work. Like you said, the end goal for you, or one of the impacts that you want to make, is to touch 1 billion people. That's no small feat, you know what I'm saying? And I'm sure that even after that is attained, because it will be attained, we manifest everything on the podcast, and that will happen for sure. I'm sure that even that is knocked out of the park, that you'll still have different things that you want to do, that you'll still come across different developments, different advancements, different ways to continue to perpetuate and build upon what you already made. So with that in mind, would you say that there is an end goal for the happiness squad? Would you, not to necessarily say that once you hit this, it's just it, that's done, I'm out of business forever, but would you say that there's something in lieu to the 1 billion people impact as well? Would you say that there's something, or there's even some things, without spoiling anything or without getting too much into it, that the happiness squad is looking to achieve, they're looking to attain, that later on down the line, this is definitely something that you guys want to have under your belt?
Look, I think 1 billion is a big number. And I know that it's not going to be me getting it. I think it's going to be us, right? It's going to be, we're taking these offerings to the market through coaches, yoga teachers, evangelists, business owners, etc., right? I think it's going to take a while, but I think it's going to be through that. My bigger why behind doing all of this, Tamar, is think about this, my friend. For the first time, and this was my bigger why for why I started Happiness Squad. For the first time in what I think is our lived existence as humans, despite all the progress I talked about, right? We have a crisis on every level of human existence, politically, economically, ecologically. Look at in terms of humanitarian crisis between the wars that are happening, right? Even within our own country, right? Between racial tensions, between socioeconomic tensions, between religious tensions. We've never lived in a period where there's been so much turmoil and unrest, and things aren't getting better. And if they are, they're happening too slowly. If we keep down this path, in 30 years, maybe 50, our planet is not going to be inhabitable for our children. The planet will be fine. It's gone through multiple mass extinctions and it's kind of given birth all over again to new life. And I didn't want that. So my whole thing behind Happiness Squad, I hope it keeps going and keeps growing. It's not about me. It is about allowing us to evolve to our next level of consciousness, allowing us to evolve from This fight, flight, freeze kind of millions of years that kind of got us to last 20,000 years is to evolve to the next level where we can thrive, where we create better solutions for each other, for the world. We create a more kinder world. We create a world where there isn't so much hatred. There is, and we're not destroying everything else in our desire and hunger to consume it all. That's it. That is it. I mean, if we are able to get even close to that, and we are able to, really inspire a revolution, um, to for businesses and for individuals to live, lead, work, and operate it from a fundamentally different way, I think that'll be a life well lived for me.
Sounds like a life well lived, in absolutely indeed. Because I just really think about the impact that you've made already, and I think about even probably the inadvertent impact that you made, that impact that you don't always hear about, that impact that you made someone's day, that you really got somebody through something, that you really spoke to someone was able to really resonate with something. And I think that's the beautiful part of it at all, to just
That's
sometimes
right.
realize who we're touching and who we're reaching out to. And that's why too, it's power in that consistency, it's power in that why, and just being authentic but being intentional about it through it all. So I'm obviously, I was a big, when I was reached out by your team and everything like that, I was already a big supporter of it. But now to really
Thank
hear
you.
a deeper dive into the story, man, this is just amazing. And like I said, really just the theme of everything, the name behind it, even the name, but the face behind the brand. Now it's just really just an amazing thing to see. So we are rooting for you guys all the way, and obviously here to help however we can. So
Thank you.
absolutely, before we get into the call to action, which is where we kind of tell people where they can find you, where they can tap in with you, explore, support the journey, everything of the sort, do you feel like there's anything that we haven't touched on today that you want to leave people with, whether it be last words for business owners, entrepreneurs, for people out there that are coming across this episode in any capacity, or just anything that you just want to leave, whether it could be even things to expect for, because as I spoke to in the beginning, we're going to have some newcomers along the way, people finding out about the Happiness Squad, but wanting to ride the wave with us along the rest of the journey. So anything like that you have for the folks?
What I would say is, an invitation for people to really recognize that, in certain ways, happiness tomorrow can be a throwaway. Yeah, we can choose to be happy or not. What I want people to walk away with is the following: it is really hard to be happy because our brains aren't wired to keep us happy. They evolved to keep us safe. And there is so much around us right now that is causing us, in our pursuit of safety, to feel unsafe and fearful. And it is out of proportion. Our reaction to what we are experiencing is out of proportion to what's happening. And I'm going to give you a very simple, and you're right, the listener is very simple. I'll tell you why, and why this is such hard work. Look, if you look at how we react to threat, right? Our brains evolved over millions of years, Tamar, millions of years, all the way from apes, all the, apes to Neanderthals to kind of Homo sapiens, right? Till 20,000 years ago, we were hunter gatherers roaming around in packs of 30. And in that moment, till that time, the physical threats around us were in the form of, tigers, lions, other carnivorous animals. 9 out of 10 of them, if you met them, you died. Right? So we are all lucky descendants of people who were really good at spotting that threat, and our systems responded with fight, flight, freeze, adrenaline, cortisol, and we ran off or we fought them. How many lions, tigers are around you in Tampa, Florida right now? Not that many, right? They're none in Boulder or Ann Arbor either. But what do we have? We are constantly bombarded in the news, on Facebook, and social media, from radio, all the negative things that are happening. And our brain has no way of separating psychological threats from physical threats, except there is a fundamental difference in psychological threats. There are two, actually. First, Unlike physical threats that 9 out of the 10 killed us, 9 out of the 10 psychological threats never actually come to be. Second, but we react nonetheless in the same level of, oh my God, I'm going to die, right? So we're running on overdrive. Second is, we didn't meet a tiger 9 or 10 times in a day, right? Maybe we saw a tiger once every 10 days, but we meet a psychological threat all day long. As inflation, a war breaks out here, something we're hearing around, a struggle, somebody's losing their job, etc., etc., etc. We have all of these tensions at work. So it's both a deluge of it and also our overreaction to it. So this is like what I want friends to recognize is we are using an instrument, our brain, to experience the world, which is fundamentally broken. It is not adapted to the world we have created out there. And so this requires real work. It requires real practice because you are trying to rewire our brains using neuroplasticity to a different way. You're trying to accelerate that movement, that right? So it is really hard work. And if we do it, we can fundamentally not only change our experience, but experience of all the people around us, right? And so this is my invitation, right? Really look into the science. Of course, we've got some programs that can really help. Do it with others and really commit to it because you'll notice that truly, if you make this your strength, everything else you want in life will come easier.
Whew, you're speaking to me through all of this too. So and that's another reason why I love these interviews and just sitting down and hashing things out. Just because while a lot of these questions and a lot of these interests and a lot of what we talk about are just what I'm listening to, what I'm hearing, what I was curious about, and things like that. It's all and what I want to get out there to my audience too. It's also curiosity for me. I'm also
Of
learning the
course.
same because I'm talking to a host of different niches, host of different industries, and really just breaking down everything. So to really hear that, to really take that deeper dive into things, it's amazing to think about. And even how, like you said, things that are psychological versus physical, but meet the same reaction or meet that same, just that initial, just yeah. Even part of the reason why I stopped watching the news in some sense was because of just how dramatized it was and how every channel just it was negative after negative after negative after negative. Even the headlines leading into the commercial, negative
Absolutely.
from the commercial, negative. And it was just like, the stuff that got the positive light wasn't nearly as frequent. And then it wasn't even nearly as long. And it was just like, wow, like, you listen to 8 negatives and you get one positive out of that. How are you not drained up from that? And then you listen to that every single day on top of that. And then let's just say we throw
Absolutely.
so it's so much that was just happening all at once, and that sometimes you really just have to take control yourself and just eliminate certain things, those boundaries, or recognize what's what. I can't even look at TV the same anymore because I went to school for communication and journalism. So while I got to see a lot of it being made and the content, I also get to see the producing side and the behind the scenes and what goes in it. So now I'm just being critical on all sides. So it's really just cool to hear that breakdown, because in that I definitely do hear the due diligence. I hear that you guys are laying the foundation, putting in the groundwork, are making sure that people are coming to you and they are not leaving by far anywhere near the way that they came in. And I think that's just a beautiful thing through and through. So now, before we officially close out, wrap up, everything of the sort, this is arguably the most important part of the interview. And I say arguably because you drop gems from start to finish. So it's going to be hard to find within these 40 plus minutes what really is the most important. But this is also my call to action for the people in a sense too. So for everybody out there that's tapping in, that's listening to this episode, whether they're live or coming across it in some form or fashion, can you just give us the best places to reach you, find out more about the Happiness Squad, support you all, continue along with the journey? Give us everything you got from social media to websites, everything.
Yeah, so you could go to our website, of course, and it's called happiness.squad.com. We're actually relaunching in 2 weeks, so you're going to see our full set of offerings, but you can already find us on happiness.squad.com, where you can learn more about the Rewire program as well as some of the services we're offering to companies. You can also find me on LinkedIn, both under My Happiness Squad as well as Ashish Kothari, so you can look me up. You can also find us on YouTube. As I mentioned, Tamar, we are on our 80th podcast. We launched about a year ago, year and a half ago. So we are on our 80th podcast, so folks can listen to us on the YouTube. We're also on all the podcast channels. And then we have our Instagram, My Happiness Squad, as well as Facebook, My Happiness Squad. So we are active on all of them. I do post most of my content on LinkedIn. Um, just given most of my audience tends to be business leaders, entrepreneurs, executives. But that's how folks can find us.
All right, y'all. Look, I'm gonna make sure that we drop everything, we plug you guys in. But look, this is it. We talked about happiness from multiple different facets today, from what it really takes to really get to it, from sometimes how it may not even be your end goal, but what you have to do to in order to get past it, to break certain things down. Ashish told us how the happiness journey, the name, the book, wasn't it. That wasn't just, he took the arrow and he kind of just went and it was a straight shot. No, he had to figure out everything that was around it, everything that was even blocking it, in a sense, blinding it, shielding it. And then once you remove all those layers, look at where he is, man. So look, if through this episode you didn't smile at least once, I need you to rewind it and I need you to watch it all over again or listen to it all over again. But no, Ashish, seriously, from me to you, just thank you. Thank you for all the work that you were doing. Thank you for connecting with me, for wanting to be on the platform, for just being here and your enthusiasm for not only what you do, but just sitting down and getting things out to my audience as well. But to everybody, who continuously watches, who continuously taps in, supports us, from people who were at the event, people who applied for the grant, everything. Look, I love y'all. This has been another episode of the Down to Business podcast here with Tamar Turner.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you for having me.